Today's video is part 2 of last week's video, Common Mistakes New RVers Make. If you didn't happen to catch last week's video, we'll put it right here.
No, here.
Oh, right there.
So like Dina said, this is part 2 of our series, 2-part series of common mistakes that newer RVers make. We did a video last week. We're going to finish it up today. We did want to split these up just to make them a little bit shorter, but we have a list in front of us. We're going to reference that. Again, these videos, we do have to give credit to RV Life. We read one of their articles and that gave us the concept for this video. Right. So we do give them credit. The first thing we're going to talk about today, again, this is a common mistake that newer RVers make, is allowing people to help you park your rig if you don't want their help. Right. Okay. Now sometimes you do want people's help, but what happens is, especially as a newer RVer, you're nervous. If you've never backed up your RV, hopefully you watched last week's video because we talked about practicing before you get on the road. So hopefully you have practiced. But if you're having problems backing up, a lot of people may be watching. You're going to start getting nervous. You're going to start rushing. People might start coming over to offer their assistance. This is up to you to understand something. You are responsible for your RV. If these people help you or somebody helps you and they accidentally back you into a tree, do you think they're going to write you a check for your damage? No. They're going to go back to their RV and have a beer and watch you finish up. That's what's going to happen. So just be aware of that. Now sometimes you may want help. You may want to have somebody look someplace, maybe your spotters. You have a spotter that they can't see. Spotter. That they can't see. There's nothing wrong with getting help, but as long as you remember you're responsible. Now, you can get times where people are volunteering their help when you don't want it. They're yelling, you know, to do this, do that, you know, do this. That's when you have to politely say, you know, hey, we got a system. In our case, we have walkie-talkies. But politely say, look, we got a system. We do prefer to use our system. I do appreciate the offer. If we find that we're in a bind, maybe I'll reach out to you. But let us, first try to get this with our system. It's as simple as that. Again, as a new RVer, you're gonna be nervous. We've been doing this for a couple of years. We had a time where in New Orleans, I'll never forget this, our toughest spot we ever had to get into. It took us, honestly, like 30 minutes to get into a very, very tight spot for all different kinds of reasons. We started to get a crowd watching us. Again, so you start getting nervous, right? People starting to say, turn left, turn right, and they don't understand. We know how to do this. It's just a very tight spot.
Some of us may have said a few things that we wish we didn't. I was so upset.
But what we did, we stuck to our system. We stuck to our walkie-talkies. If Dina's out spotting for me, if I got to a point, this happened a lot in this particular case, where I couldn't see something because it was such a tight turn, I would park the truck, get out, and walk around the RV so I know what my boundaries are, where I can go. I might ask Dina, hey, can you move over here a little bit? I'm really concerned about this pole or this tree or something like that. So, and again, we had people offering their advice, and we just almost kind of had to ignore it. And I think at one point when we're getting a little heated, they didn't want any part of us either. So that always works too. It wasn't
pretty. I'm still waiting for a video to pop up somewhere of that.
So again, you're responsible for your RV. If you want the help, great. But remember, you're in charge. Tell them where you want them. Tell them what you want to say. How to say it. And other than that, it's up to you. This is something else, and this is more, I don't want to call it, I guess it's still a mistake, but it's really, it bothers me. I don't like it when people do this. Interrupting somebody when they're setting up or tearing down. Now, it may not seem like a big deal. You may see an old friend, or you might get a new,
or somebody's leaving and they want to say goodbye. You understand, but it's still,
it's a tough one. Now you have to think, and this is going to go back again, this was last week's video. We talked about checklists. We use a checklist on everything: tearing down, setting up, hitching up, unhitching. But imagine if you don't have a checklist, you're hitching up a fifth wheel.
Yeah.
You hitch up your fifth wheel, your kingpin goes into your hitch on your fifth wheel. Now somebody comes and interrupts you. Yeah. You get talking. He's an old friend, or they're old friends, and you just have a great time talking. You get done talking. Now you go back. You look at your RV. Oh yeah, it's all hitched up. Let's go ahead and bring the everything in and get ready to go. But you forgot to put the pin in your hitch. Now as soon as you pull out, your RV falls off, and you just spent thousands of dollars.
Oh
so that's what can happen when you get interrupted, or if somebody interrupts you. So it's kind of a unwritten rule, I should say, in RVing.
We've actually had to start completely over from the very beginning because of that happening.
Yeah, we've been interrupted a few times in the middle of a hitch. Actually, Robert, we just talked about hitching up our RV, which is a very, very critical part. And we were very polite. We went ahead and talked, but then we pulled out our checklist and we started back at step one again.
Yeah, we couldn't remember.
We went through everything to make sure we were safe. Yep. It might seem like an overkill, but I really don't want to spend thousands of dollars because I did something silly that I could have avoided. And on the flip side of that, you don't want to interrupt somebody else as well.
Right.
Give them their space. Let them set up, or let them tear down when it looks like they're, maybe starting to, cool down a little bit, or starting to chill a little bit. That's the time to go over and say hello or say goodbye. So interrupting, that's a biggie. Next thing we want to talk about is not keeping up with maintenance or recalls. This is a biggie, especially if you're a full-timer. Now, as a matter of fact, when we went back to Florida last year, one of the things we did is we repacked our bearings. Yep. Fortunately for us, our son-in-law has a trucking company that we were able to go to and do all that.
Oh, man, that was a blessing.
Yeah, I still appreciate that. But keeping up with maintenance, and really in recalls as well, especially as a full-timer, we find ourselves, especially when we go out west, we've been traveling for a full day. Like, I'm thinking of Wyoming. You might leave a small town in Wyoming and not see much of anything until that night, till you get to another small town. You might see a little oil town or something like that, a temporary town. So you can be out in the middle of nowhere, and we're talking hundreds of miles in no cell service, nothing. The last thing you want to do is break down because you forgot, your bearings need to be repacked.
You didn't keep up with your maintenance.
10,000 miles ago, or something like that. So maintenance is really a biggie. You will probably learn the more you're into RVing. I'm kind of speaking to a newer RVer. The longer you RV, you're going to find out that there's constantly something to work on RVs. Something. We've been down roads, kind of the saying, right? If you've been shopping, the dealers always say, the RV's going through a hurricane and a
tornado?
Earthquake and a hurricane getting pulled. And it's so true. We've been down roads. I thought my teeth were going to fall out. And I'm thinking of South Carolina right now, too.
South Carolina was... South Carolina?
Yeah, South Carolina.
It was.
Some of these roads that we have to go over are extremely, extremely rough. So it's not uncommon to go check your suspension. Maybe check the lug nuts on your tires. Just do common maintenance and keep up with it. Recalls. Make sure you get on your manufacturer's recall list in case anything does happen to come up. You can be notified of that as well. Yeah. So maintenance is a big thing. This is kind of interesting. This isn't so much of a mistake as a waste of money, I think. Yeah. But not having the right memberships. Now again, when we were researching RVs, or we knew we were going to get into RVing full time, we did a lot of research, and I'm sure you're aware of this, right? You start watching YouTube videos and everybody out there is, oh, you got to buy this, you got to buy that. This membership is better than that membership, or buy this membership, but make sure you tell them I told you so. Yeah. You get a lot of that, and we actually got caught up in a little bit of it. I think we ended up purchasing 4 memberships before we even started traveling. What we found out was the way we travel, because of our patterns, we only use one or two of those memberships. The other ones we just let expire after a year.
Yeah.
So what happens with us, we mentioned this, I think it was in last week's video, we try to stay at least 2 weeks wherever we go.
Right.
So what most campgrounds or RV parks do is for every week you're there, usually they give you a free night.
Yeah.
That's just as good as a lot of these membership discounts,
if not
as well.
better.
If not better,
Yeah.
right. Fortunately, I have a veteran, so we also get military discounts sometimes as well. But usually, more often than not, staying a week, you get that extra free night. That's usually the best. The best that we get. Now, if you really want to save some money, you can stay, you know, for a month and get a really good discount.
Yeah.
But memberships, before you start buying a bunch of them, see what your pattern is. See how you travel. Everybody's different.
Right.
There's not a right or wrong answer to this. You just have to see what your patterns are and how or what memberships fit best for you.
Right.
All right. So just don't go out and buy a whole bunch of memberships.
Don't do what we did.
Yeah. Next one. This is again just another common mistake: not having the right supplies. Whether you have too much supplies or not enough supply. So the very first thing, too much supplies, it boils down to weight, right? When it comes to RVing, weight is a big deal. The more weight you're pulling, the less miles per gallon you're getting as well. Just more wear and tear on everything. So as a new RVer, everybody's excited. You want to get out there on that first trip, and you start thinking, oh, I might need this, I might need that, you know, I might need, you know, X, Y, and Z, and you start packing up your RV, and before you know it, you're overweight. You're carrying stuff around that you just don't need. Right? And it's just it's a waste of space. You find yourself moving stuff to get to something else, stuff that you don't even use anymore. So supplies is something you really want to think about. Now, fortunately for us, if you've been watching any of our videos, you know we did a ton of research. We went back to Florida last year for Christmas. We have a storage unit there. We only dropped off 2 empty bags, or backpacks that we don't use anymore, and I believe a bag of clothes.
Yeah.
That was it. And we didn't pick up anything.
Nope.
So that's how close we came to, I don't want to say being perfect, but packing up the RV for the first time. We had the right tools. So far, we carry the right tools that we need. Anything that I may have missed, we just purchase on Amazon and get it. But supplies, again, it's something you don't have to have 10 tents set up around your RV, or you know, you don't need to bring everything in case it rains. You know, just be smart with supplies. But at the same time, you don't want to be undersupplied as well. There's places. I'll just take it for an example, water hoses. We have a short water hose and a longer water hose. If I only had that short water hose, we may not be able to hook up to water at certain campgrounds just because of the location. So there are things you are going to need, but it's just, again, it's just think it through. And some of it just comes with practice. The more you RV, you're going to see, you know, we go through a lot of this stuff, so let's make sure we have it. Or, you know, I packed up these tools in case something happens, but I haven't used them in 2 years, so maybe next time I'm in town I'll drop them off again. So,
and the other thing is too, I was going to say, is there's always some kind of handyman store around the corner. It seems to be, no matter where we are.
And there's always Amazon.
And there's always Amazon.
So
true.
Worst case, if you don't have it, there's always Amazon as well. Okay, next one, we only have a couple more here. Not doing enough research. Now, to me, there's kind of no excuse for this. You know, I'm sure you're watching this on YouTube. YouTube is a great resource. There's so much information out there. I sometimes laugh when I go to some of these forums and I see some of the questions people are asking, and they've been on the road. They're camping already, and they're out on the road, and they ask something that they really should have known before they got on the road. It could be like, hey, I have this brand, how tall is my roof? You know, what's my clearance? That's something you kind of want to know day one. Again, we talked about this, I think, in last week's video. Again, going back to research, understanding the type of RV that you want. Purchasing the correct RV for your needs. You don't want, and this happens all the time, you always hear these stories, people buying an RV, 6 months later, they realize it's not for them, and they have to go out and back and purchase another RV. So a little bit of research, a little bit of maybe slowing down and understanding your needs does go a long way.
Patience.
So yeah, something else, talking about doing research and using YouTube, something that we learned on YouTube is an easy pass, right? So doing research can also save you money. We lived in Florida. We had a sun pass. It was good for all the roads in Florida, and that's how we were going to start RVing. We just had the sun pass. We did some research. We watched some videos, and we found out there's something called Easy Pass. It's basically a toll, a pass for tolls, and it pretty much covers the whole eastern United States. I think there's like somewhere around 16 to 20 states that it covers. So we could get rid of our sun pass. Now we have an Easy Pass, and we're good for multiple states.
Right.
That's something that we learned by watching YouTube videos or researching.
Yeah.
So researching isn't just about learning, it's also about saving money as well.
Oh yeah.
So, and we've saved quite a bit of money doing some research. This is specifically for full-time RVers. And this is a tough one for me because I've talked about this before. You're not on vacation. You're living your life, and this is tough, right? I still honestly struggle with this.
You're
one.
doing better. You're definitely doing better, but
I don't know how much that's just getting older.
Are you admitting that, honey?
No.
Somebody's got a big 6-0 next week.
As a full-timer, you're living your life. You're not on vacation, and this is a toughie because you're sitting here working, looking out the windows, and you see people with their fire pits. They're all gathered around fire pits, maybe having some drinks or riding up and down on their golf carts or ATVs, and you just want to get out there and go out and hang out with them and enjoy it and participate in everything. But it's Monday night and you got to work the next day, so you have to have the correct mindset, right? You're living your life, your typical life during the week. The weekends you can go out and explore and stuff like that. At least in our case, but it's a tough one. It's a very tough one.
You're doing better though.
I'm trying.
You're a work in progress, honey.
I'm a diamond in the rough.
Oh boy, yeah.
Or am I still cold?
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Okay, this next one we're going to talk about is not understanding your RV systems. We kind of covered this in practice from our video from last week, but I really wanted to kind of go over this. As a new RVer, you're anxious, you want to get out there. What you really want to do is to make sure you spend some time and learn your systems. And this is everything. This is how do I get my slides out? How do I level my RV? What works on 12 volts? What works on 120 volts?
Right.
We've never had a gas stove. How do the gas appliances work? They seem funny, but they all add up.
Yeah.
There's just so many different systems in an RV. Now, one of the things that we did when we first got our RV is we have 2 black tanks and 2 gray tanks and a freshwater tank. I wanted to make sure I understood what goes into each tank.
Right.
I know what goes into a black tank, but what I mean by this is...
Of course you do.
We have 2 gray tanks. So what goes into gray tank 1? We found out, it might be the front shower, the washer and dryer, the front shower sink, washer goes into gray tank 1. Gray tank 2, the kitchen sink may go into that, or maybe the back bathroom sink goes into it as well. These are the kind of things we wanted to learn. We also wanted to learn, we have 100, I believe it's 104 total gallons of gray water, these gray water tanks. But I don't think they're separate. They, one we found out is 60 gallons, and the other one is like 44 gallons, something I forget off the top of my head now. But these are things kind of important to know. If you do have a leak, if you do find out maybe you're when you use your washer. There's a leak happening somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, you know it's between the washer and gray tank 1, right? It has nothing to do with gray tank 2. So things like this can be helpful if you ever have a problem. The other thing with your tanks is they have sensors in there to let you know how full they are. If you've been around RVing long enough, you know these sensors do not last forever. So if you're going, especially when you get a new RV, that's a great time. Fill up your tanks, see how much they can hold, and write that down somewhere. So just understanding your RV, understand how to flush out your black tank, understand how, I should say, how to use your black tank. We've seen people where they leave it the valves completely open, so there's no water in the bottom of their black tanks, and that causes mounds. Pyramids, yeah, poop pyramids. So there's little things like that if you don't understand, you're just going to make some problems for yourself.
Yeah.
So understanding your RV, again, how do I level it? How do I get the slides out? How do I hook it up to a tow vehicle? Or how do I hook a toad up to it, depending on what you're driving? All these things you really want to spend some time before you go out on your first trip. And then hopefully you can go out and enjoy your first trip.
Yeah. We hope you enjoyed today's video. As you can see, there's still a lot. Yeah. No matter how, really it doesn't matter how long
we're still learning things.
You're always going to learn. There's different things that are going to happen, that are going to come up, you know, depending on your situation, what kind of, you know, RV, camper you have.
Or tweaking your checklist.
Yeah, or tweaking, which we have to do.
Yeah,
we just said that. Yep. And we're going on 2 years, so it's a never-ending process, but it's better safe than sorry for sure.
Definitely.
Let us know if you have any questions or comments below. We'd love to hear from you. We hope you have a great week.
Remember, always live life to the fullest.
Safe travels and God bless.